Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
How you doing, folks? Welcome back to World of Tanks with Scout. Today what I'd like to do is continue our look at middle tier machines for those of you that are new to World of Tanks relatively and trying to figure out where you want to go, which tech tree you want to go down. So with that in mind, I want to take a look at this machine right here, the M10 Wolverine. This is an American tier 5 tank destroyer, and what we're going to do is have a look at the tech tree, see how you get to it, see where it takes you, and then compare it to some of the other tier 5 tank destroyers and other tier 5 machines to see how it stacks up, and then take a look at some gameplay with the M10 Wolverine. So first of all, let's take a look at the tech tree. If we open up the tech tree, you'll see that the M10 Wolverine sits right here in the American tank destroyer tree. You go to the T18 and the T82, and then when you make your decision to split, you split down through the T40 and then to the Wolverine. And the Wolverine, like most of the tier 5 machines, it sits at kind of a special point in the tech tree, and that from this vehicle you have a decision to make. Do you want to continue down this line of American tank destroyers, which is the non-turreted line, or do you want to go up to the Hellcat and then continue down this line, which is the turreted line of American tank destroyers? And the Wolverine sits in a unique spot in that you actually get a choice. If you go up to the M8A1, which is what I was inclined to do from the T82 because I think it is a better machine than the T40, then you've already made that commitment. You're going down the turreted line. You don't have a chance to get back down. Whereas with the Wolverine, you get a choice. And you can see what I've done is I've gone up the turreted line because I really enjoy having a turret. But if you go down the non-turreted line, you will get a turret with the Jackson, but it will be the last turret you get. From the T25 AT on, they're all non-turreted tank destroyers. So that's what the tech tree looks like. And just for general information, I don't really like the T82, and I don't really like the T40 either. So what I did is I used my T18, which I think is a great little machine, banked up my experience, and used a couple of other tier 2s and just entirely skipped the T82 and the T40 and went straight to the Wolverine and unlocked it and started running it. And that's how I got my Wolverine. Let's go back to the garage and compare the M10 Wolverine to some of its tier 5 competitors. So what I've done here is I've pulled up the Stug 3 and the Su-85, which I think are the most common competitors to the M10 Wolverine and the other nation's tech trees, not counting the T49, which is the other American tier 5 tank destroyer. We'll get into that a little bit later, so that we can compare it and see how it stacks up. Now you'll see that the M10 Wolverine has 360 hit points, which is a pretty goodly amount for a tier 5 tank destroyer. It's more than both the Stug and the Su-85. And just to give you an idea, it's roughly 100 less than your average tier 5 medium tank, regardless of which tank you're looking at, be it the Panzer III, the Panzer III-4, the Sherman, what have you. It's about 100 points less, give or take. The Wolverine weighs in at 29.07 tons, which is roughly the same actually as the Su-85 and almost 10 tons heavier than the Stug 3. It has a 420 horsepower engine, which is actually dead last in terms of horsepower, 20 less than the Stug and 60 less than the Su-85, but it does have a 48 kilometer speed limit. So in terms of speed, it's in kind of an awkward place. Its horsepower to ton ratio is not that great, even though it does have a high speed limit. So what you're going to find is that in a straight line on good terrain, it's the second fastest tank destroyer that we're looking at here. It's not quite as fast as the Su-85, but it does have a top speed limit that's higher than the Stug 3. But you're never really going to reach that 48 kilometers an hour unless you're going downhill. And then of course if we throw the T49 in the mix, the Wolverine's going to come in third because the T49 is a much faster machine than any of these three that we're looking at on the screen now. Now in terms of maneuverability, the Wolverine doesn't do that well. It's only got a 30 degree per second hull traverse, which is significantly less than the Stug 3 and even less still than the Su-85 at 33 degrees per second. And 30 degrees isn't terrible, but as you can see by comparison, it's not that great either. And though it does have a turret, that turret traverses at 16 degrees per second, which is abysmal. It is tied with the Hellcat and the Jackson for the slowest turret traverse in the game, or one of the slowest. There may be a turret that turns slower. If there is, I don't know it right here off the top of my head. But important to note that you do have a turret, which is something that, other than the T-49, the other American Tier 5 tank destroyer, none of the other Tier 5 tank destroyers have. Just recognize that while you do have a turret, you still cannot afford to let other medium and light tanks get around you, because that turret traverses extremely slowly. If we look at armor, you'll notice on the hull, the Wolverine has 51 millimeters of front armor, 19 millimeters of side armor, and 25 millimeters of rear armor. In essence, the front armor is okay, the side and rear armor is of course garbage. And that armor, as you can see, is slow. And what that means is that from the front, you can occasionally get some troll bounces. If you've seen my T20 video, I actually bounced 4 90mm shots from a range of about 25 meters off the front of a Wolverine. So you can get some trollish bounces because of the angling and the thickness of the armor, but you definitely should not bank on it, and especially not your side armor. Your side armor is just absolute trash. Going to the turret, you have 57 millimeters of frontal turret armor and then 25 millimeters on the sides and rear. And you do have a good gun mantle, as you can see there. It's fairly significant. So from the front, you can actually get some bounces off this turret mantle right here. And then as you can see, your sides from the front are angled pretty sharply. So your turret can actually be pretty troll if you get this thing into a hold down position. But what you do not want to do is present the sides of your turret or the rear, obviously, to the enemy, because as you can see, that's a large, very flat surface, and they're going to penetrate that almost every time. Also of note, you do have an open top turret, so you cannot mount improved ventilation, and it does make you somewhat more vulnerable to artillery fire. Now, if we compare that to the Stug, as you know, has 80 millimeters of frontal hull armor, and it is angled very sharply. And the Su-85 only has 45 millimeters of frontal hull armor, but again, it is angled quite well as well. So really, I would say that in terms of frontal armor, you're fairly comparable to the other Tier 5 tank destroyers. And because your turret is roughly the same, and it does have a good gun mantle, I don't think that the turret makes you any more vulnerable, even though it does make you a taller vehicle in terms of where you can and can't hide your tank. Now we're going to come back to the guns. I'll compare the guns in just a few minutes, but I want to keep moving down the other stats. Your view range at 370 meters is one of the stronger features of this tank. As you can see, that view range far exceeds the Stug, which only has 310, and is much better than the Su-85, which is stuck at a lowly 280 meters view range. And if you're curious how this stacks up against other Tier 5 tanks, it stacks up very, very well indeed. The only Tier 5 medium I know of with a view range that competes with the Wolverine is actually the M4 Sherman, which has a 370 meter view range as well. The rest of the Tier 5 machines typically hover somewhere around 350 to 310 meters view range, give or take, depending on which specific machine you're looking at. So you have a definite advantage here in terms of view range. You also have a great advantage in terms of signal range at 650 meters. It is outstanding. As you can see, that is a 200 meter signal advantage over the Stug 3, and almost a whopping 300 meter signal range advantage over the Su-85, and yes, those are with the top radios. So you do have outstanding signal range. So let's take a look at those guns and see how the Wolverine stacks up now. So what I've done here is I've pulled up the best gun on the Stug right here, the 7.5 centimeter Pak 42 L70, and the Su-85, which has the 85 millimeter D5S 85 BM gun. And here is the Wolverine's gun here, the 76 millimeter AT gun M1A2. And now, if you're wondering, you do have a choice of guns on the Wolverine. There are several guns available. One of them is the 76 millimeter AT gun M1A1, which is essentially the same gun as the M1A2. It's just not quite as accurate and doesn't have quite the rate of fire. And that is the best gun available on the T49. So you have a flat out better gun on the Wolverine. It's one of the distinctions between the Wolverine and the T49. T49 is much faster, much more maneuverable, And then the Wolverine gets a slightly better gun because it does get this gun right here, the M10. So in comparing it to the other tier 5 tank destroyers, what you're going to find is you have a tremendous rate of fire advantage. The M1A2 76mm fires 18.7 rounds per minute, whereas the L70 only fires 13.3, and the SU-85's 85mm only fires 10 rounds per minute. In terms of penetration, though, you do have the worst penetration of the three. 128mm of penetration for the Wolverine is compared to 150 for the Stug, and 144 right behind it is the SU-85. And again, your damage is only 115 average damage, as opposed to 135 for the Stug and 180 for the 85mm on the SU-85. But your rate of fire more than makes up for that particular disadvantage. It's only the penetration in my mind that really makes a significant difference. You'll sometimes struggle to do that damage, especially if you're in a tier 6 or 7 game, because your penetration just isn't as good. In terms of accuracy, it is unfortunately the most inaccurate of the three guns at .38, which is not terrible. It's just quite simply not as good as the great .33 accuracy on the German vehicle, and even the Russian vehicle is really not far behind it at .34. You do, however, get very good aiming time, 1.7 seconds, which is every bit as good as the 1.7 seconds on the Stug, and of course half a second better than the 2.3 second aiming time on the SU-85. All in all, I think this is a decent gun. It will serve you very well in a tier 5 game. 128mm of penetration is more than enough to even go through the front of a KV-1, as long as it's not angled and you're aiming for the weak spots. And even in a tier 6 game, you won't run into too many vehicles that will give you problems frontally. The AT-2, the British tier 5 tank destroyer, does have some significant frontal armor, but I haven't compared it here because it's a little different. It's an assault tank as opposed to a tank destroyer. The T-150 can also give you a little bit of trouble if it's angled well, but other than that, you generally won't have too many issues, even if you're just firing standard armor piercing rounds with this gun right here. So that's how the gun stacks up against its main competitors. Overall, I think the M10 Wolverine is a really great tier 5 vehicle. Its rate of fire has always served me well, and the accuracy, while it isn't that great, is typically good enough when combined with that rate of fire to just chew tanks apart, as long as you stand off and use your fantastic view range. In terms of modules, I combine a camouflage net with binoculars in order to take advantage of the huge advantage I already have in terms of view range. I'll pull into a bush, if I can speak right today, get that camo net up, get those binos up, and you can frequently engage tanks that can't even see you. And with your high rate of fire, you can usually get 2, sometimes 3 rounds into them before they see you and start returning fire. And again, I've put a gun rammer on this thing just to take that outstanding rate of fire and make it even better, so that when I get the jump on a tank, especially if I'm on his flank, he's often dead or damn near dead before he even realizes where I'm at and can start returning fire. And I can't recommend this vehicle enough. I think it's a great little vehicle. Don't knock the Stug or the SU-85 or the T-49. They're all great vehicles. I think that the Stug is just a fantastic tank destroyer because of its gun. It does well even in tier 6 and 7 games, and it's very sneaky. That's what the Stug has going for it. It's very maneuverable. It picks up speed very fast, whereas this thing does not, and it's very good camo rating, whereas this thing has mediocre camo rating. That's kind of the hallmarks of the Stug. Whereas the SU-85, again, it's the gun, but it's the gun in a different way. It does a lot of damage, and it still has good penetration. And the SU-85 is just kind of, I would say it's kind of an all-rounder. But what holds the Stug back is its low ammo load, which is not a problem you have in the SU-85 or the Wolverine. And then the T-49, its thing obviously is speed and maneuverability. The T-49 is basically a tier 5 Hellcat is what that is. And that's kind of how these machines look in comparison to one another. And again, just to highlight, I think the Wolverine is really the all-arounder of the tier 5 tank destroyers, especially because it has the turret. It's just a tremendously flexible machine, whereas the others are kind of not so flexible. So that's enough talking and comparing stats. Let's take a look at some gameplay footage in the Wolverine. So what we have here is a tier 6 game on Lakeville. I'm not in a platoon. Unfortunately, this is an 8.7 replay, and there was a lot of funky server lag and weird things going on during this game, as you're going to see. And so we're going to have to watch this in third person point of view, because for some reason between the server lag and it being an 8.8 replay, whenever I go into sniper mode, weird things start happening, even after I delete my preferences and everything else. But I still think it's worth watching, because it demonstrates what you can do with the Wolverine and its rate of fire. And right there you can see I was just trying to turn left a little bit, and it got stuck and turned hard left instead. My initial thought was to push into the town along with all of these folks right here, but then looking down at the minimap, I'm noticing that everybody's going into town, and the M6 on our team, the heavy tank right over there, is AFK, and we don't have nearly enough in the valley or watching mid. So I'm going to pull into this bush here and try to cover the middle road. What I'm doing right now, you can't see it, but I'm playing with my camera in sniper mode because there are all kinds of funky things going on with my camera. My gun was actually not following where I was aiming at. Like, you would move the reticle to the left and then the gun wouldn't follow it. So I'm panning around trying to figure out what the WTF is going on, and still trying to cover this middle road here. Now I see this KV-1S. I'm trying to see if I can get a shot on him, and then I see the Panzer IV. He pulls up into the valley, and we're able to get a shot on him. Alley, not valley. Can't talk today. Get a bounce, but then we get a penetration on the Panzer IV. Now we're engaging the KV-2. 2 bounces is enough to make him pull back behind the building for cover. There goes the Panzer IV. Now I'm waiting on that KV-2, see if he'll come back out. Fire a blind shot at his last known location. And now I'm starting to move back into the cap circle, because as you can see by the minimap, we're going to have a problem over here in the valley. We've only got one Stug left, and there's an M4 Hellcat and a Panzer IV at least over there. So I'm coming back, going to try to defend the exit to the valley. And right now what I'm thinking is, you know, that M6 may be AFK, but I can use him for cover, and they will more than likely engage him immediately when they come out. Lagged out there. I was trying to turn left and get behind the M6. And watch this. Yeah, lagged out again, stuck spinning in circles. I don't know, weird things happen sometime. But now we're in behind the M6. We're going to use him for cover, because we know he's AFK, but they don't. And there's the first of the enemy coming out of the valley, engaging the Sherman. He tries to derp us, but he misses. Now he's backing up, trying to get behind that rock. He's hull down right now. We're going to take a shot of his cupola, and we get the kill. Now I was zoomed in on the M4, and then I traversed left to get this Hellcat and the Stug, and I did not see this Panzer IV coming around behind me. But as he pulls in, I catch him, and he does the worst thing he could do. He stops. If he'd have kept going, it would have been very difficult to get my turret on him. But he stopped, and we were able to secure the kill and pull back forward to use the M6 for more cover. Come out, engage the Hellcat. He gets a shot into us. Fortunately, he's got the 76mm gun, not the 90. And then I noticed the Stug going around, completely oriented on our Hellcat over there, giving us the flank, and we're able to secure the kill on him.
Gotcha.
And while the Hellcat is distracted with the other Hellcat, we pull back up and secure the kill on the Hellcat. So 4 kills in rapid succession. You see me there in the chat. Somebody had said earlier they're coming through the valley, and I'm like, not anymore, they're not. And the team has pretty much crushed the town, and this is going to be a base capture victory. And there you see it at the end, Scout, you're my hero. It's kind of a funny game in the Wolverine, but it really demonstrates, I think, what the Wolverine is capable of, because of the rate of fire of that gun, and the penetration, even though it's not great, is good enough when you're engaging tier 5 tanks that you can really savage them, especially when they just park in the open and allow you to do so. So let's take a look at the results screen right quick. So here we have the victory on Lakeville in the encounter battle. 17,418 credits, 1,552 experience, doubled for the first victory of the day. We also got a sniper medal. Looking at the team score, I came in third place for damage done, even though we were bottom of the tier. 1,179 points of damage, 4 kills, and 776 experience earned, which is good enough for second place on the team overall in terms of experience gained. Going to the detailed report, I fired 18 shots, 16 of which hit. Of our 16 hits, 14 penetrated, giving us our 1,179 points of damage. Took 3 hits, all 3 of which penetrated. Potential damage received 330. Spotted 1 enemy tank. Damaged 6 and destroyed 4, and also got credit for 59 points of assistance damage. And even 11 base defense points. Not quite sure I got that. Must have been that the Panzer IV was in the cap when we shot him at the beginning of the game. And of our 17,418 credits after repairs and rearms, we're still able to bring in 14,137. So not a bad result, really, in the Wolverine, considering how we were tiered. Pretty short game, only 4 minutes and 7 seconds. So let's take a look at another one and see if we can show you the capabilities of the Wolverine in a little more depth. So here we are in a tier 5 game, tiered much better this time on Pearl River. This is an 8.7 replay, so it's before they changed this spawn location and moved the terrain all around. Not a bad matchup. We've got 3 tier 5 heavies, so do they. Selection of medium tanks and tank destroyers, and there's even some tier 4 and tier 3 tanks moving around, so not a bad matchup. Obviously what I'm going to do is head over here by the rock and defend the bridge prior to them moving the terrain around. I really feel like this was the dominant position on this side of the map, because from here you could hide behind the rock, get hull down, and just chew people up as they attempted to come across that bridge. Right here. And about the most you could do if you were the enemy team is try to get all the way up on the bridge and use the bridge to go hull down, but that really wasn't a great position either. You can see my team is flooding across the bridge. Not really sure that is the best way to approach this, but if they're all gonna push, I'll go up there and push with them. It looks like they're stalling out on the corner though. Get up here and see what's going on. There's a T1 heavy and a KV1, and they are playing smart. They're using that middle-ish part to go hull down. Unfortunately, our artillery is not in a position where they can engage them. Otherwise, they could chew them up. You can see we are not able to penetrate the turret of the KV1. 3 shots in succession bounce off of its gun mantle. And I'm backing out because this right here, this is a losing fight. Trying to fight that T1 heavy and that KV1 while they're hull down, exposing our flanks, coming around the corner to shoot is just, it's foolish. It is not going to go well no matter what. So I'm backing out and I'm going to go back to my position rather than try to push a bad engagement. As you can see, the enemy have already killed 4 of our tanks, and we've only got 1 kill. Well, now we've got 2, a T-49 and a Hetzer, and I'm pulling back in behind my rock. Two to 7 now. The team's just getting obliterated up there on the bridge, and they're not doing well in the south either. Look at all those dead tanks. The artillery wants to know what happened to our team. Well, they went up there and got obliterated, mostly by the KV1 and the T1 heavy. You see me there in chat, I told them, you guys are going to get smoked if you keep trying to push those heavies while they're hull down. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late. For the most part, they've already gotten obliterated. The only thing left over there is our Churchill, our T1 Heavy, and the AMX-40. And they're just not listening. They're going to stand there and die rather than come back where I could cover them. They have had a little bit of success though. They managed to kill the T1 Heavy on the opposing team and some of their tier 3s. So we pulled the score a little bit closer. It's 6-9 now. And that's when I noticed the M5 Stuart behind me. And this is the slow traverse of this turret. The whole time I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Get around, get around, get around.
Penetration.
Oh! Fairly low damage roll, don't get the kill, and he moves out of the way of the second round just in time. Oh! Third round tracks him, does no damage, and the Su-85 gets the kill. Really fortunate there that we didn't get shot in the back. And as soon as I get my gun around, here comes an M4. Now we're back in the same position, waiting on that gun to come around. Fortunately, it looked like artillery put a big shot on that M4, and we were able to finish him and secure the kill. And now I'm really nervous because my turret traverses so slowly. I don't want to get shot in the back because I'm pretty positive they have to know I'm here. I'm pinging the map, trying to get some people to adjust. Unlucky that shot missed on the M4. Second shot goes in. Somebody else hits him. And we fire a blind shot where I think he was backing back out and are able to secure the kill on that M4. You see me pinging the map again. Excuse me. I'm trying to get one of those tanks behind me to move down and cover that particular road. They're both right now covered on the northern road, but nobody's covering the southern road. You see the Su-85 is pushing down to cover that now, and that makes me feel a lot better about traversing my gun back around and covering the bridge, which is fortunate because they've just mopped up the AMX-40 and now there's no one left on the far side of the bridge. The score is now 10-11. We've managed to pull this back a little bit, and now it's just a question of whether or not we're going to be able to hold them off, because unfortunately they still have both their Churchill and their KV-1, who's now on 3 kills. Say nothing of the Panzer IV. Here comes the KV-1.
Critical hit.
I've loaded premium rounds because I want to make every one of these shots count. He was angled, but unfortunately for him it wasn't enough, and I'm able to secure the kill on the KV-1. Now I'm waiting here because I thought there were more tanks coming from this direction. Based on what was there at the start of the game, I really expected the Churchill 1 to be coming this way. And I'm going to rely on the tanks behind me to cover the other avenues of approach. Unfortunately, the Su-85 is actually pulled up. He's right there on my left. I don't know why he did that. I would have much preferred him stay where he was at. We have 3 tanks, which is enough to cover 3 avenues of approach. There's no reason in him stacking up here with me. I have a very good position. But, you know. And see, that's why. There's the Churchill coming from the avenue that the Su-85 left open. Now we're back in the same position of trying to get our gun around fast enough. Fortunately, the Churchill's not exactly a speed demon, and we're able to get the gun around. His turret is sticking up just a little bit. If I can get it lined up, I should be able to penetrate his turret. Not where to. Can't quite get that shot lined up. I don't want to move because I don't think the Churchill sees me. Again, that view range advantage we were talking about, and he's already. The only reason we're spotting him right now is because we have other tanks that are much closer. And again, I'm not convinced that that's everybody on the bridge dead. I still think there's another tank sneaking around over on the other side of the bridge. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm just going to be patient and wait on that Churchill to make a mistake. Namely coming up like that and giving me a good shot. And we fire blind even though the silhouette kept fading in and out. And we get lucky and get the kill. And there's their Panzer IV. He puts a shot into the flank of the Su-85 and takes him out. And now it's just me versus the Panzer IV, the T-49, and a T-28. So we're going to turn this thing around now that we know where the Panzer IV is at. I'm not too worried about the T-28, but the Panzer IV really concerns me, especially if he's running the howitzer. He can almost one-shot me. If he gets a good damage roll, he will one-shot me. Oh, there's the T-28 trying to cross the open. He sees me, but not able to get his shot off in time. We secure the kill on the T-28. Panzer IV takes his shot, so I'm going to come out and put some shots into him. I didn't think that he could reload that fast. Fortunately, the shot didn't penetrate. You take HE damage, and now you see the rate of fire of this gun just chewing that Panzer IV up. He fires. I think it was a panic shot. I don't think it was fully aimed. I think he was firing it, praying that the HE splash damage would take me out, but the round is well short. Unfortunately, he did manage to kill my driver, which is a problem because the Wolverine is, as we talked about in the garage, kind of sluggish as it is. Oh, get hit again as I try to reposition. What I want to do now is go to a different position over by the rocks. I don't want to sit in the same place and allow him to sling high explosive rounds at me. I should have used my first aid kit on my driver before I did that. We're going to move over here into these bushes and try to get my camo net and my binos back up and hope that he can't see me.
Got him.
And right there, I don't think he saw us. I think he had an idea where I was at, but I don't think he had seen me. And we were able to get a shot off first and secure the kill. And right now I'm starting to wonder if that T-49 isn't AFK. You see there in the chat. I haven't seen him on the minimap all game. Doesn't mean he didn't show up. I'm not running XVM. I haven't noticed him. So I'm starting to think that he is AFK, and you see his old team there now saying report the T-49 AFK. So if we speed this up a little bit, I'm going to move towards their cap. Not sure what happened there, but I'm going to move towards their cap, and we'll see whether or not that T-49 is AFK. There he is. And if he's AFK, he's moving.
Penetration.
Unfortunately, that shot, there it goes. I was going to say it looked like that shot missed. Had it on slow speed there though. And I'm going to duck over here behind this ridge. Only got 34 hit points left. If he shoots me, it's probably going to kill me. You see my team there, he's not AFK. And I don't think he is. I think he's just terrible or confused. And we'll speed this up again. In the end, that T-49 does not come back out. They asked me to go over there and kill him, but I'm not going to risk the win just to get another kill because I'm capping and I've got Top Gun and we're able to pick up the victory. So there you have it. Let's take a look at the results screen. So there's the results from our Pearl River battle. Got 27,402 credits, 2,630 experience points for first victory of the day. Got the Top Gun medal and of course the Invader medal because we capped them out at the end. Looking at the team score, I was able to put out 1,000 points of damage and secure 6 kills. Good enough for second place on the team in terms of damage, right behind our artillery actually, which did 1,134 points of damage. And first place in terms of experience gained with 877 base experience. Looking at the detailed report, fired 22 shots, 16 of which hit. Of our 16 hits, 15 penetrated, giving us our 1,000 even damage. Took 3 hits, all 3 of which penetrated from that Panzer IV. Potential damage received 1,230. Pretty fortunate considering I've only got 360 hit points. Spotted 1 enemy tank, damaged 8 and destroyed 6. Got credit for 445 spotting damage. It's probably track damage actually. Damage that my team inflicted because I had tracked enemy tanks. And of course we got the 100 base capture points for capping the enemy out. Did have a premium account going. Unfortunately it wasn't enough to make a profit. Got 27,402 credits with premium, but because we fired several premium rounds there at the end because I wanted to secure the victory and ended up using a consumable, the first aid kit on the driver, we actually lost 7,033 credits. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it was a good game. Fortunate to get a Top Gun and a victory out of that particular game. Let's take a look at one more video with the Wolverine. So we're on mines this time. Again, tiered fairly well, predominantly tier 5 games, although there are some tier 4 tanks running around. It's a counter game. And we should do fairly well in this game. A whole lot of tank destroyers running around. AT-2s, Stoogs, T-49s, Wolverines. Not too many heavy tanks for us to shoot at. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go. Thinking about going south actually. And trying to get into an overwatch position and overwatch the hill. I think that's what I'm going to do. The mediocre armor of the Wolverine and its slow turret traverse and mediocre hull traverse, I really don't want to go charging straight ahead and risk getting tanks on my sides, on my flanks, where I won't be able to respond quickly enough. But from right here, I should be able to overwatch the hill really well. I was actually shooting at that T-40 there, but he drives by and my shot goes into the Wolverine. But we're able to traverse left and get the kill on that T-40. Shift over to the left a little bit here, see if we can put some fire out towards the lighthouse. That was a really bad shot at that T-25. I shouldn't have taken that. Missed again. I'm just rushing these shots. I need to slow down, take my time, and aim better. Check the hill, see if we can get a shot on this Sherman. Oh, had the top of his turret. There we go. Looks like he's traversed off to the side. Oh, that one misses.
Critical hit.
Get a critical hit there, probably damaged gun, maybe a crew member.
That one bounced.
Got a bounce off of his gun mantle.
Enemy is hit.
That one goes in. Tried to fire blind there, hoping we could get him. There's a rock or something just right in the way. We're finally able to secure the kill on that Sherman. There's that tricky T-25 again. Oh! That one goes right over his back deck.
Got him.
But that one goes in. We're able to secure the kill on the T-25. Again, I just need to slow down here and place my shots a little bit better. This is very early in my World of Tanks career. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I actually learned about World of Tanks from watching older videos put up by Jingles on the Bohemian Eagle YouTube channel, and also Sidestrafe. And Sidestrafe was a huge fan, I think, of the M10 Wolverine when he was going through the middling tiers. And that's not only what got me into World of Tanks, but what convinced me that I wanted to try this tank out. So this was why the Wolverine was one of the first tier 5 tanks I actually got. Able to secure the kill on the Badger there, putting shots into the side of his turret.
Enemy is hit.
And now trying to get the kill on this Stug. Fortunately, he moved up a little bit. We're not able to line up a shot on him anymore, and then the other Wolverine kills him. Looking at this Stewart here, hoping I can get around the rock, put some shots into him. Got a little bit of a shot, want to give myself a little bit more.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Trying to shoot for his tracks there, unfortunately it goes in and doesn't track him. He backs out, and our M4 blows him to the moon. See if we can get on this side of this AT-2. AT-2 is quite strong frontally, but if I can get on his flank, should be able to tear him apart.
Penetration. We just dinged him.
Oh, this is going to be a problem. Fortunately, wasn't able to track him. Gonna wait on some help to arrive. Not really fast enough in a Wolverine to drive around his flank. He seems distracted with the SU-85 behind me.
Ricochet.
Like I said,
That went down.
early in my World of Tanks career, I'm trying to, one thing you should not do here is shoot at that front slope on the AT-2. That never in a million years gonna penetrate. But he comes forward, tries to get the kill on me, and instead gets killed by a
Enemy armor
Wolverine.
is hit.
There's a Valentine coming down the hill. And it's 13-8, and I'd say we have this game well in hand. There's a Matilda, and their artillery is all that's left. I'm pretty sure their artillery is over right around A2. You heard him land a shot near me right before I started moving down this way, so I'm going to go look for the Matilda Black Prince. Our SU-85 has found their artillery. Hopefully he doesn't get derped right in the face. And there's that Matilda. Not sure what he's doing way down here. Killing himself a Crusader, apparently. Stu's gonna go right. In hindsight, I should have gone left. And we could have pincered this Matilda.
Penetration.
But we'll come up along behind him. Put shots into his flank, and we're able to secure our 5th kill. So that's game, not a bad result in the Wolverine. Let's take a look at the results screen. And there it is, folks. Victories on mines. Got 19,691 credits, 1,690 experience points. If we take a look at the team score, despite my awful shooting, I was able to inflict 1,492 points of damage and secure 5 kills, which gives us 845 base experience, putting us in first place in all categories on our team. So not a bad result, like I said. Let's look at the detailed report. And you can see I fired 34 shots, not very many of which were well aimed. Did get 21 hits. Of the 21 hits, 15 penetrated, giving us our total of 1,492 points of damage. Did not take a single hit all game long. Damaged 10 enemy tanks, but only managed to kill 5. Got credit for 56 points of assistance damage. And of our 19,691 credits, managed to bring home 16,427 after resupplying the ammunition. So it's not a bad game. And with that, folks, I'm going to wrap this video up. And again, in summary, I really think that the M10 Wolverine is a very well-rounded Tier 5 tank destroyer. I think probably the most well-rounded of all of the Tier 5 tank destroyers. It's not especially fast, not especially slow. Has the flexibility of a turret, and has a gun that doesn't have fantabulous penetration, doesn't have fantastic damage, but it's good in both categories, and it does have great rate of fire. So I really think that if you're thinking about going down the tank destroyer and you really want a turreted tank destroyer, you need to seriously give the M10 Wolverine some consideration. And it does serve as a pretty good training tank actually for what you'll get much later in the T28 prototype and the T30. The T49 I think is worth also investing in, because that's, if you can do well in the T49 and the M10 Wolverine, you're going to do well in all the machines that follow. The Hellcat is a lot like the T49. The T25/2, a lot like the Hellcat and the T49. And then the later machines, the T28 prototype, the T30, and what have you, are more like the M10 Wolverine. But that's just my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the videos. I hope you learned something. I hope they help you as you decide where you want to go through these tech trees. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.